time to come out here and listen to me. Hopefully this information helps you. I'd love it to be interactive, so if you have questions or examples to maybe share with your friends or others, please raise your hand. I'll be glad to. Everybody hear me okay? Everybody's good? Good? Okay. All right. Closer? Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you. My name is Jimmy Himes, and I work with First Capital Bank. I'm out of our Meeting Street office down in Charleston, South Carolina. We have 5 offices. I'll do a little thing on First Capital. We actually have one of our awesome board members here, Jim Mason. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. One of my favorite people, so thanks. You're one of the reasons I come up here. You too, Judge. And we've got Kim Dennison, who is our branch manager at the Laurinburg office. We're doing a little bit of bragging. One of the guests here said we probably paid people to get #1, but I don't think we did. I know you were. I'm kind of in charge of client services and getting out there and talking to people and seeing what they need and what they want. And that's my favorite part of banking, is just interacting with people. So I might not fit the exact mold of a banker. So I like talking about people and learning more about them. Before I get started, I hope everybody has, this card is more important than promoting the bank. This card is a resource card, and this card's going to help you with all the numbers that you need if you ever think that you might be involved in a scam, or you have a friend or a family member that might have some kind of situation. And we'll go through that in detail, how it works, but they are important, resourceful numbers. And at the bottom, got Kim's information. I'm going back to the bank again. It's got all Kim's information if you have any interest in the bank as well. So just talking to a few people here today, you're aware of scams. Unfortunately, we need to do these presentations from time to time because they take advantage of us. There's some bad guys out there, bad folks that just like taking advantage of older adults, and we're their favorite target. So, and it's come a long way. I do probably 3 or 4 presentations, probably about 6 every 2 months, just because the scams are evolving. I'm sure you've heard of AI. That's super difficult to figure out, and we'll go over some of those examples too. But before I get started, anybody have anything they want to start with? You're not forced to be here? Okay, good. Well, here's a couple statistics that are recent, and they make you scratch your head. According to the FBI statistics, cybercrimes for ages 50 and older, in 2022, they took $2.5 billion from older adults. That's a lot. I mean, that's shattering. And 60 and older, AARP reported that they're up to $28 billion in money lost. So that is alarming. 60% of that are people that the older adults know. 40% is outside of people you know. So that's a staggering statistic as well. And they prey on your trust. And they really don't prey on who you are, they prey on how you are. And there's a difference there. You know, they have figured out where we are in our life, financially, emotionally, and that's why we become easy targets. Let me go on. Here's a value of our bank, and this is interesting, and I know I'm going to embarrass Mr. Mason, but I've been in banking 22 years, been with big banks, small banks, and the senior leadership and the board here, great culture, but they really have high standards, and our standards are integrity, fairness, learning, partnership, balance, results, and discipline. The biggest one that I see as an employee of First Capital is fairness. Extremely fair in their leadership and how they treat us. Any questions? Any objections to any of those? Good. Here's one of my favorite slides right here. And I'm going to ask Kim to talk a little more about the bank and how it started. But this is Kim. She's the branch manager, and her office is over there on Main Street in Laurinburg. I love to share these details. She's been married to her handsome husband, Mike, for 31 wonderful years. We're trying to gain their trust, Kim. Born and raised in Laurinburg, North Carolina. I didn't know that. Both parents retired from Bell South Telephone Company. Everybody remember Bell South? I remember Bell South. Graduated from Scotland High School and attended Mars Hill College. 40 years of banking experience. That's a lot of experience. Congratulations. Well, you must be good at what you do. 22 years of her banking career has been with First Capital in Laurinburg. Looks like you were well-versed in lending. Also executive assistant to, would that be Charlie Rivers? Oh, wonderful, okay. And we have another, where's Mr. Vance at? There he is. That's another First Capital person, right? Wonderful. And she's currently the vice president and branch manager of Laurinburg office. Do you mind me putting you on the spot and talking about our existence here?
She also has a beautiful voice. She sings and she plays the
She
piano.
does. Really good. Go on up here and
We
share.
expect encores.
Okay, there you go. I want this to be fun and interactive, so absolutely.
Yeah,
Well-
she should be playing now.
Those of you, I didn't think about, like, if we could have had a Christmas sing-along. I would rather do that than be in front of a bunch of people talking. I would much rather sing to a stadium full of people than to get in front of and talk. But I will say, the First Capital Bank started in Bennettsville, and Mr. Nance, you were there from the beginning almost, so correct me if I'm wrong. There's Miss Nance back in the back. Started in 1999 in Bennettsville, and a couple of years later, got a location in Laurinburg before they went to the current location at 909 South Main Street. If any of you remember, next to Norma Ford's old house, you know where that is, right between Norma Ford's house and Oaks Professional Building. That's where we are, right there on Main Street. I've been there since 2002, almost from the beginning, and we've enjoyed serving the community. That's our specialty. We are proud of our customer service that we like to give our customers. We know our customers. They come in, walk in the door, and we know them. We call them by name. If you call a First Capital Bank office branch anywhere, here or in the Charleston area, a real person's going to answer the phone. And we like that, and I like to think that y'all like that too. Any questions about the bank here locally? Mr. Nance was with us for a number of years. He was there, I think, when I got there and retired about the time COVID rolled around. If you think of anything, just raise your hand. We'll be glad to.
Scotia Village residents get awards money each month.
We do not have that program set up at this point,
Oh, okay.
but it's a great idea. It's a great
I
idea.
hate to correct her, but if,
Yes.
yes, you would gain interest on your money
Yes.
each month if
Yes.
that's an award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
No,
Yeah?
that's not what I
Oh, that's not what
see there.
you want appearance money, we might work something out.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much.
I think your logo looks a lot like Scotia.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. It does. Thank you for sharing that. I always enjoy listening to those things. My goal today is trying to cover the different ways that the bad guys can get to you, and then we can go into details if you'd like. This next slide Can anybody tell me what the significance of this picture might be? Say again?
There's nothing written on it.
That's true. When you were growing up, did your parents ever tell you to stay away from those white vans? No? I can remember a little bit of that. Yeah, you would always, look out for that white van. Don't go talk to that person in that white van. It's come a long way since then, so that's what the bad guys were doing a lot of their bad things with. And then certainly you've got your computer and you've got your cell phones, which is where it's happening right now. Somebody have a question? All right, let's go on here. The first way is in person. And these are impersonators. They're impersonating these people, and they've been very, very successful at it. Door-to-door repair and sales. That would be where they would come to your door and maybe get a down payment, never show back up. I'm sure everybody's heard of that. That happens more than you want it to. Family's another one. The bank I was with before, one of the daughters was taking care of the father, and she got power of attorney and stopped paying the bills, and that's how they found out that she had taken all his money, just through the power of attorney. So that's one there. Investment fraud is still out there. Guardian and conservatorship, POA, that's what I was just talking about. There's just so many ways in person that you can be scammed. And Kim, what's the old saying? If it's too good to be true? Yeah, that's one we want to hold on to, because that's, it's as bad as this is, it's really a simple way to fight this. And we'll go through that. In person, there's usually, you get a feeling, hey, this doesn't feel right. They're persistent, they're coming, they won't go away. In today's world too, they can get more information about you, so they could be talking about your family members. Just whatever they could do to get you to make a quick decision is what they might do. Next one is through the mail. I was always suspect of the, and I think it was legitimate, but we always used to get it. What house that sweepstakes? Yeah, I always never knew a winner, but apparently there were some winners. But I was always skeptical of filling that information out and going back there. And then some other typical scams are: you've won the lottery, you've won a prize, you may receive a check. I've seen this one, not as much now because they've gotten smarter, but as a banker, clients would come in and they'd have a $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 check made out to them. And we would ask them, did you do anything for this? And they would say no, and they'd want to deposit that. But once they deposit something like that, and it goes back to the bad guy that sent it, now they have all your personal information, actually. So they're doing it easier, but that was one that I saw a bunch. Certainly you've won money. People fall for that more than they want to. Fake charities asking for money. I saw a real increase in the police departments calling and asking for donations, and that wasn't legit. I mean, it is legit, but the ones that were out there calling were pretending to be somebody they weren't. What would be the best way to handle a phone call that you didn't recognize a number, or it was a strange number? Anybody?
Don't answer it.
Don't pick it up. Don't pick it up. What are your friends going to do if they call you? They're going to leave a message. Yeah. So scammers have gotten really, yes ma'am.
I was just going to say, even today I got a so-called phone call from a number which I didn't recognize, so I ran it through Google.
Good for you.
And right away it said, don't do that,
Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, the scammers have gotten so creative in the way that they're doing things like that. You get a text message from Amazon that has a link. You know, you don't want to touch that link. You want to do what you did. Google that, what you just got, and it's going to tell you if it's legit or not. But most of the time, those aren't. Or you owe your $600 past due on your credit card bill. You click on that. So this is a smart group. Everybody's on shaking their heads yes, so that's good. That's encouraging. Free lunch for investment seminars. That was something in Charleston that was rampant for a while until they caught on to them. They moved fast, but that was something that people were getting suckered into. Psychic scams, I haven't seen many of those. They got them up in Laurinburg? Yeah, okay. That's good. And again, a few of you responded to this. If it's again, and they're the way they can spoof the phone, they can actually put a friend's name on a phone number that they're calling. They have a lot of ways to get you to pick up that phone. And it might be okay to pick it up, but what do you want to do immediately when you don't recognize it? Right.
Well, they say too, if they say like, speak to Cindy or whoever, and
Thank you.
I know you're loud, but people
I
can't
don't
hear you.
think thank you, but turn
They didn't
around.
even hear.
They say that when someone does, they call and say your name, you should never say your name back. You should never say yes,
Thank you.
because
That's right.
that's really bad, they say.
It is. So now we're talking about artificial intelligence and what they can do. With the artificial intelligence, they, let me find this note here. It's called voice cloning. And so a bad person can call, let's say they get your voice message. They have the technology now to copy your voice, and whatever they say sounds like what you're saying. So, and that's very popular right now. They're doing it all over the place. It's called voice cloning. And the app is actually free to the bad guys. So if you do say your name or say yes or whatever, and they're recording that, they can turn that into, have you heard of the grandparents scam?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Ma'am, anybody get close to getting scammed with that?
Not close, but it's very, very intriguing, because at least for the first 30 seconds, they were on point.
So was it a grandchild
With a cold.
with a cold? So here's how you want to be proactive with that and get ahead of that. Maybe tell your family to give you a code word or a code number. And that way, this can't happen. You're going to get it more and more. They have what they're doing now is called deep fake. And that is, and you've probably seen it if you've seen some TV, that's putting your face on someone else, and it's you talking. So if there's a video on the phone of you watching them, the person on the other end's not going to know that it's not a family member or friend, something like that. So that, yes, sir.
If you do that.
If you do that and you use it once, would not it be right to tell the person, we're going to have to get a new one? This one is now expired. I have been told that. In other words, if you have a safe word,
Yes,
only use it once.
that's right. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. That's a good practice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because once you've used it, it's out. It's no longer secret.
Mm-hmm.
So you change it each time you use it.
That's another layer of security that you can use for sure. Just have a safe word, safe number, whatever you have. Yeah, and different people in your group can throw that safe word out. It doesn't always have to be you, so. Any other questions so far? Here's the, one thing to know, the IRS, Social Security, they're not gonna call you. They're not calling you, 100%, they are not gonna call you.
Can't get in touch with.
Well, anybody had those calls or any messages left on them? You have, Judge? Yeah. They will not call you. 100% they are not going to call you. So don't allow that to happen. And you know, and they threaten, you know, that you're late, you owe them this. If they ever tell you, well, you know, your bank account's not safe, you got to move it to another bank account, that's part of the scam. Now, if it's First Capital and you got to move it to another First Capital, not one bank is going to ask you to move it to another bank. That's just not, it's not going to happen. Again, we talk about the grandparent scam, a fake call from a grandchild, nephew, that's AI. You know, I'm in trouble, my car's broken down, those kind of things with their voice. It would be easy to fall for that. Telemarketers, again, they've gotten creative with the way that they can spoof the phone calls, who's calling, that kind of thing. I'll go over the type of payments. So if for some reason that you you were involved in this, the payment part is really the dead stop part. You might talk to someone, you might have an off day and you're talking to someone and they're getting a little bit of information and you don't realize it. But when it comes to the payments, that's where you can stop any harm. And that's important because there are basically 5 types of payments that these bad guys will ask for. And they're not the way you would make a normal payment. So gift cards would be one of those. SIM swapping, has anyone heard of that? That is brand new. And what that is bad guys are getting your personal information. They're calling your phone carrier and they're saying, my phone was stolen. And the carriers are getting, they're getting smarter. They're having face recognition. They're having codes that you can give them. But they'll switch all your information onto their phone. And a tip-off would be your phone's not working. If your phone is not working, that would be an indication that they have gotten your information.
Unless you're dealing with Spectrum.
Say it again?
Unless you're dealing with Spectrum.
And what, tell me about
Your
that.
phone doesn't work.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry about that. I get that now. I get you. Yeah.
I was just going to tell you need to know that this community has been dealing with some serious problems with Spectrum.
Oh, wow. Yeah. As far as the service is concerned? Yeah. Is it because of the location or what?
It's an issue that is beyond local Spectrum. It's a bigger Spectrum problem that we're working on.
Thank you for sharing that. You think it's going to get better?
It better,
It better. Yeah, that's right.
yeah. It's pretty ridiculous what they put us through with everything, so yeah.
So
Out of our
SIM
hands.
swapping is a big thing now. You're seeing it more and more, and it involves your cell phone carriers. So, and again, the first indication, with the exception of Spectrum, if it's not I mean, when I say it's not working, it's not about the coverage or anything. It's just not working. It's someone's got it. TV or radio, products with large shipping or handling charges, products sold that are frequently fake. Quick weight loss products, fraudulent mortgage ads. Not so much today, but we have seen those in the past. You know, with all the online shopping, this part is where you can get in trouble. Amazon would be one. And I would suggest if you do online shopping, do it with sites that you're familiar with. My son, who loves to fish and wanted a boat, saw this nice 18-foot boat for $75. You laugh, and he's a school teacher, smart kid, got his master's. He sent $75 to him.
Oh,
Yeah, so if it seems to be if it's too good to do, it is. That's absolutely right. Any other examples of that? Yes, sir.
I keep hearing something on the TV about this, or rather on the radio, about this company that will give you money for your house and you don't have to pay it back. I can't remember the name of the company, but I find it difficult to believe that any legitimate lender is going to not want to be paid back. How do they get their money back?
So it sounds like a reverse mortgage scam is what that sounds like.
But they don't ever say reverse
No,
mortgage.
but they want you to call them, or however,
Yes.
yeah, that's.
So the fact that they don't tell you that gives a giveaway
Yeah,
that this is...
absolutely. Yeah, those are the indicators. And, you know, the bad actors pay very smart people to make those phone calls and talk to people like you and I, and it's convincing. It's, you know, most of it's done out, you know, in other countries, but they're paying actors here to do those things. So, yeah, you've heard that recently on the radio?
Well, mostly on the internet.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see signs, we buy homes, those kind of things. Those are, you want to be careful of those as well. Any other, yes, sir?
We've had one at least, if not two, where the call, I don't know how they have gotten the info, they know who your bank is. I don't know how they know that. But they tell you that there has been something fishy going on with your account, and they are going to have the investigator for the bank call you. So you're being forewarned that you're not getting a crank call from the investigator for the bank. And the bank he will call the name, or she will call the name of the bank. You know, this is Jim Mason, I'm from First Capital. I've been asked to call you to investigate the attempted fraud in your account at the bank. And then they will begin to ask you questions. And this one went so far as it got to, we're close to, I'm not going to give you the hour-long version, but it got to the point, we want you to put $5,000 in your account so we can catch this person trying to get it.
Yeah.
And here's how we want you to put that money in the account. So it got pretty sophisticated before the person got smart enough to actually physically go to the bank and talk with the person at the bank. They'd never heard of the investigator. They were just amazed that they had the information they had. But this person talked to what they thought was a bank investigator for 2 days about trying to stop the fraud on their account.
Thank you for sharing that. And so that,
How big are your microphones, sir?
I'm so sorry. Can't put it down. They'll go as far as asking your last four of your social, those kind of things. And again, it comes in a text form. It could come in, you know, as a phone call. Do what the judge said. Call the bank. And if you're not familiar with the voice that's calling you, that's a tip off too. If that voice does not sound familiar, somebody back there had a good call. What do you do when somebody calls you don't recognize? Hang up. Will they call back if want something? They will, or they'll leave a voice message, which the bad guys won't. So thank you for that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, this isn't really my story to tell, it's my husband's, but he's not here. Yesterday, he found an address online to order some tickets for a football game that's coming to Charlotte in January. So he contacted them online, I believe he did this all online, and ordered 3 tickets. And then they immediately billed him and sent to him the amount that it was going to be. Well, it was going to be $300 more than he anticipated. So he quickly turned around and called his credit card, our credit card company, and they closed off our credit card. It worked out okay because of closing the credit card. Whoever was trying to get this extra $300, and then he noticed also that they did, the tickets that they offered were not exactly what he wanted. They were in the row 10 somewhere. So what it turns out to be is a second, what do they call those? People that sell the second time, they buy the
Scalpers,
tickets.
scalpers.
Scalpers,
Yeah,
yes, it
yeah.
was a scalper. But he got well, we're going to have a new credit card now. Now, that's
Oh.
not a big deal. But I wanted to cover one other thing. Then he turned around and called Ticketmaster, which we know is a legitimate business for selling tickets. But it was close to losing an extra $300.
That sounds like it. The ticket business is a big,
Yeah.
fraudulent opportunity for the bad actors, for sure. Once they have that's another good point you bring up. Don't order things if you have debit cards. Don't order it with a debit card. Order it with a credit card. Once you do your due diligence, you're covered better. Not that we won't return it, but the bad guys might have your 4-digit PIN, and it looks like, you actually made the purchase or however. So be careful of that. Was there another hand up? Yes, sir.
Give you one more quick example. If you get emails, they're so good now that one of my daughters, most of you know, is a graphic designer. We sent the email to her to look at, and the only difference between a legitimate email and that email was the font on one of the letters. That's how sophisticated they have gotten. We'd have never picked up on it, and 90% of y'all I don't think would, but they've gotten so sophisticated that even if you think an email is legitimate, it may not be. Like say you Google something or you check on it, but it was and it was a bank. And the bank was out of Boston, but the font on one of the letters was different.
Yeah. And the bad guys can get apps and run their bad schemes through the apps to correct the different fonts and stuff, so there's no end to it. So that was a great catch, Judge. Very good. This slide here, another important slide. One that I see a lot, even at my house, is that your antivirus subscription's about to expire. I mean, you're always trying to close that thing, and they've been creative to where, the X might be the authorization instead of closing the app. And once they still have to get into your computer, but it's best not to click on any of those. Anybody had any of the antivirus pop-ups that come up there and all the time? It won't leave, will it? Yeah. It is. And if you, again, what I said earlier, it's not who you are, it's how you are that these bad guys feed on. And it might be a bad, I get home from work and I'm exhausted and I don't want to mess with it, but I get in there. And if I happen to get into that antivirus software, I would suggest cutting the computer off, unplugging it, starting it back. Yeah, just don't keep going. Let's see what else we have here. We see this at the bank a bunch, as your payment has been processed, waiting for your bank information. We don't call people and tell them that. I mean, we'll give you the information if you call, but we don't call out, but we get a lot of that. Next slide. Why are older adults targeted? It is where the money is. Usually there's not a lot of debt. Retired, often at home, inaccessible. Older adults with memory problems and particularly attractive targets. Older adults may be more trusting. I agree with all of those. Yes, ma'am.
I would just also add, and I'm a retired librarian, so I have a lot of background with technology, at least, you know, computers and what you can do and what not, but stuff changes all the time.
It does.
And so people who are older aren't always, you know, we're not up on it because we're not in an office working with it or anything. And
That's right.
a lot of times I have no idea what I'm seeing now.
Absolutely. You know, I mentioned those numbers and what the loss is. Those are only the reported numbers. You know, there's a lot of folks that don't report that because of, you know, they don't want people to know. That's a big part of it. Financial abusers. I've had situations where families and friends are taking advantage of family members. Had a situation in Charleston where I had a client, and the client was living with his brother. His mom and dad had passed away. They had a beautiful piece of property on the water on the intercoastal. Their parents, it was generational property. The one brother was cutting lawns and just trying to make a living, paying for incidentals. The property was free and clear. The other brother wasn't doing much. An attorney talked the one brother into, so what was happening in this particular area of Charleston was there was these beautiful heirs properties, and it was probably third or fourth generation family members living there, and they became targets. People knocking on their doors, hey, I'll give you $100,000 right now if you sell this property. And so there was some forgery going on and whatever. Alex came into my office one day and we were good friends. I cashed his check on Fridays, and he says, "You're not going to believe this. I lost my house." And I said, "How'd you lose your house?" He said, "My brother signed my name in this." And so that's where it started. That's where the investigation started, right there. And it was happening more and more around the area. But people were too embarrassed and had too much pride to share that's what they did. So that's another one. So lawyers, doctors, financial advisors, clergy, caregivers, guardians, they're all human. Not judges. I didn't say judges. Right.
Well, let's say his name.
No way. I'd bet the farm on that one. Strangers such as telemarketers or door-to-door salesmen or repairmen, new love interests, TV and radio. I have another bank story. This was really this was a hard one. So much that I lost 2 staff members. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Kim. I lost 2 staff members because they just couldn't come to grips of what happened. But this gentleman had been on the internet and met someone over in London, very successful. $700,000 later, and this person in London had got this large windfall and needed taxes paid, and it was always a problem with this person getting over here. But we, you know, he was doing small amounts, so it wasn't something that we needed to be super alarmed about. We do our due diligence as far as where we're wiring. This bad person was, you know, pretty sharp that way. And the way it was uncovered, I had one of the bankers was off, so I had another banker, and she didn't recognize the gentleman, and they started talking and getting into it. And he said, "I'm sending this money over for someone I met about 12 months ago." So, and once it's, what, the wiring funds is a payment that is difficult to get back once it's wired. It's like sending cash out there. So that was a tough one. Signs of a financial abuse, unpaid bills. I'm sorry.
I'm from Jacksonville. I have a military background.
Go Jaguars.
No, I'm talking about North Carolina.
Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot.
And I have my dad was a Marine. I was in the Army. A lot of people
We
here were
appreciate that.
similar.
Thank you.
The thing is, if somebody claims that they're a soldier overseas, if they give you address, it must be an Army post office, Navy post office, Air Force post office, APO, NPO, or AFPO. If it's anything else, they're a fake.
Yeah, that's a
That's
big
an
scam,
absolute
military.
fake.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's how we uncovered the power of attorney situation, which the bills weren't getting paid. So that's an indicator. Large amount of junk mail, sizable bank withdrawals, unusual bank withdrawals, or unusual credit card activity. Caregiver family not providing for older adults. Changes in personality, demeanor, hygiene, self-care. I mention these because we all have friends and family, so those are signs that you need to keep aware of. Missing valuables, unusual new friends, new names on accounts. Phone rings constantly, don't see much of that anymore. Anything else before I go to the next? Yes, ma'am.
My bank account was hacked recently.
I'm sorry?
My bank account was hacked recently.
Yes, ma'am.
It cleaned out my checking account.
Do you have detail? Did the bank have
The
details?
bank called me before they let any money go
Okay,
and put a freeze on that. Fortunately, that's not quite all I had. It's just all I had in that particular account. But still, it still shook me up.
did you file a police report?
No, the bank was doing that.
They were? Okay.
But, yeah, but somebody did, and I'm still waiting for my new credit cards and I've got the new bank account number, but I don't have checks.
You want to jump in here, Kim? No, I won't make you. So, that's getting back to banking like it is, that is, and you feel like you've been violated. And it's easy to do.
They were handling things, so.
That's good, and that's important to have, a key person that sees it from the beginning to the end. We see it all the time. And unfortunately,
They blocked everything.
yeah, and unfortunately,
Changed numbers,
so many people don't report it. That's where, that's where friends and these kind of things come into play, is that if you're out having lunch and you hear something like that, they need to get it out. Let somebody know.
I picked up on it and
Good.
they called me.
Yeah. Good. Have you gotten any more information about that? I mean,
No, except that's going to get a big. I already
Debit
have
card?
a account
Mhm.
number. I had checks and don't have credit cards, but other than that.
You didn't
the-
do
the
that.
bank
you
don't
have your money, that's what's
I don't
important.
know.
You didn't do that.
It says friend, let me back up there. It does say friends, be careful.
Well, I took all $5 in there.
More signs of financial abuse, unusual changes in a will or beneficiary, social isolation. Abuser speaks for the victim. Seen that in the bank. Calls from debt collectors, strange charges on medical bills, home and state of disrepair. Oh. Sorry. Here's some more. This is where we see some issues too. I'm still old school. I still get my statements in the mail. I like looking at them, and I work at a bank. Still write checks. It just gives me a little more security for me that I'm able to see that. But that's where you can get jammed up too. Review all your financial statements, check out any repair person you hire, get 3 estimates. That, we see a lot of that in person. Don't sign a contract until you verified the company. If you don't understand the financial transaction, or if you feel you're being pressured or rushed to give money, slow down, don't sign the document, and ask for help. Any examples there? Safeguard your financial information. Where do you keep all your financial information, ma'am? On your desk. It's a bad answer. How about you? You keep it locked up? Okay, all right. My point is, it shouldn't be laying around. I know one of our policies at the bank is that and this is what your bank should do for you, by the way. Our bank does it. We're a no-fee bank, believe it or not. There are no fees that we charge any of our clients. But one thing that I encourage the older adults where I am is to bring the stuff that you want shredded into the bank, and we'll shred it for you. Don't throw it in the trash can. That's dumpster diving. They can find information. If you get a credit card offer in the mail and you throw it in the trash can, it's likely they could get a guy could get your credit card information or get a credit card made. So you've got a big shred bin there, don't you? Yeah, so you need stuff shredded or disposed of. I'm sorry? Oh, good. But if you're that person that, doesn't do it diligently and you got this much, that's when you want to take it to somewhere like that. We'd be glad to help you with that. Safeguard personal information. Order credit reports with the 3 credit companies, and that's Equifax, Experience, and TransUnion. Use computer safe practices. And this is my favorite. You're hang up Harry. Well, what do you do? Hang up. Is everybody on board with that? We don't have to be nice to the bad guys. And hanging up is not being rude. Just hang up. It's a good, simple practice it will work. Hybrid financial abuse. This is when more than one type of abuse is occurring. For example, a family member physically abuses an older adult when he refuses to cooperate with the demand for money. I had this happen in one of my offices at my last bank. Grandson came in with a granddad that I saw every week, and he looked nervous. He looked like he was not okay. Brought him in his office, and the grandchild was threatening him if he didn't get some money. Complications, reluctance to end the abuse due to, let's see here. This one gets me a little bit. I had this on the screen earlier, and is it Alan, who's the gentleman? He did not like this picture. This one looked rough, and that's again how you feel, right? When something's happened to you. This is an important card here. Get involved, prevent, report. Oh, I'm so sorry. I keep doing that. Get involved, prevent, report. That's why. There you go. Put a stop payment on monies, wires, checks. Place a fraud alert within the credit reporting companies. Change your phone number, freeze credit, shred old credit cards. Now, this is if something were to happen. Has anybody put a freeze on their credit report? You have? Okay, look at that. Awesome. How easy was it? It was. Was it a phone call? A written response. Excellent. Okay, and that was a freeze that you put on it? Okay. So you had some suspicious activity?
No, but I wasn't planning on borrowing any money, so I didn't want to leave any door open just in case somebody decided to borrow without my input.
Perfect. Good. And that easy to unfreeze it as well?
Well, I haven't tried to at that particular point because I haven't, run across that situation. But
Okay.
But that's what it was amounted to, and it was just a matter of something that I had seen somewhere, and it talked about, how easy it is to put a freeze on or and off, and in order to protect yourself so that you don't have to follow along with it, is to just go ahead and put a freeze on your accounts, on all the credit card, the credit reporting companies, and they will not, anybody that requests your information, what kind of status you're in, what kind of credit score you have, they can't get that information, so therefore they just move on.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So what's happened is, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
So far, can you hear me? So far, nobody has mentioned investments, and I have had problems with that in the last 10 days. A gentleman calls me and says he wants me to call him because they're going to have a meeting with this particular investment. And I called the person that handles my investments, and he said, don't do that. But I had already decided not to do it anyway. But these people are getting information on certain investments and trying to hack those.
Yes, ma'am, that's another way. So have you blocked that number that they're calling? How are you dealing with that?
I have an answering machine,
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
and he's called at different hours also.
Okay. Very good point there, having an answering machine, because you can screen every call, so that's good. No harm, no foul so far? They haven't, okay, good. Was there another hand up? Yes, ma'am. He does? He did? Wonderful. This card I handed out has the 3 reporting companies, and like this gentleman said, it's a lot easier to do than it used to be. So you can go on and put a freeze and unfreeze, and it's not a bad idea in today's world. Yes, sir.
We have, this working? Twice we've had notices from a company, one from a long-term care insurance company, and the other, I forget what it was, but it was a while back, saying that their computer information had been stolen, and our personal information was part of that. So we froze our credit.
That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. It could actually be a breach that you had nothing to do with, and the bad guys got your information. And that's where monitoring your credit reports help big time. Since the pandemic, it's gotten a lot better. I mean, you can get a free credit report every month now and I think there's a website on there. The Equifax TransUnion and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau offers free credit reports too there. So, yeah, I mean, breaches happen all the time. So you got to be careful. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious to know, the folks, because it's been a while since I've had anybody that I spoke with who needed to freeze or unfreeze their credit. I'm just curious to know, for those who have frozen their credit recently, did you need to set a password of some sort, a PIN or something? But
Yes, sir.
20 years ago, I had to establish a password. 6 years ago, I wanted to buy some property.
I had to unfreeze it. I remembered, or I had written down the password.
That's impressive.
Well, it is, but they came back and said that password's expired.
So you you needed a new one?
I needed a new
Yeah.
one. I needed to talk to somebody on a telephone.
Yeah. And this gentleman, you did it via mail, right?
I initially did mine by mail 20 years ago.
the point being, if you do freeze it and you have to establish some kind of passcode, password, whatever, be sure to remember it or write it down somewhere, because if you ever do want to unfreeze it, you're going to need that number. I had a customer run into that one time where they didn't know what the number was to unfreeze it. So
I mentioned that IRS or SSI would never call you for anything. Microsoft and Apple will not call you either. So if you get those phone calls, they're fraudulent. They're not going to call you to fix your computers or do any of that. And they're very creative with that part. Thank you for that, Kim. We're almost to the end here. Again, here's what I see most of all is that so much of this gets unreported for whatever reason it is. And that's where, don't be embarrassed. Get it out. There's a good chance that you can have your money recovered. These examples are call law enforcement and make a report. That's what I would, that's the first thing that I think everyone needs to do, is to have that on record. Call, you might not have to call 911, but call the local police department and say, hey, I think I've been part of a fraud, or the investment. That could be reported. That could be reported and put on a report in case anything were to happen after that. And the next is the credit reporting. Once you have that, you can freeze your credit and stop them from accessing that. It's very, very important. It does get a little bit serious here as far as restraining orders. Call a crisis hotline, report to Adult Protective Services, seek legal counsel, or, you've got Kim's number. I've known Kim for a long time. You've got Kim's number, you've got Kim's email. If you have any questions or anything that you need bounced off of her, if she doesn't know the answer, she's going to find the answer and get the resources. It's very, very important to do that. I did want to talk about one thing, is the type of payments that they're going to ask for. And you can pitch in to, if you know. The first one is wire transfers. That's one that is very, very popular. They'll want you to wire money out. And once that wire is initiated, it's very hard to get it back. So that's the first one. Another one is gift cards. Anybody heard about that? Gift card scams? Which, if you think about it, it sounds so bizarre, but that's how they'll want their payment. That would be an indicator. So if you got all the way to this point and they're starting to ask for payments, if you haven't done what? Yeah, you're hanging up now, for sure. Cash in the mail. I still see it. People still send us payments, cash in the mail to the bank. Don't do that. Don't do that. Cash in the mail, as good as your intentions. Maybe the holiday card with $10 in it inside a protected envelope, but don't send payments cash in the mail. I had a very good friend, and I love him to death. I think it hurt our friendship, but his dad went to one of these crypto machines in the gas station and put $5,000 in it, and it's gone. And he's like, come on, you can help me, Jimmy. You can help me, man. You've always helped me. I can't help you there. That's a big thing right now, is the cryptocurrency, and people thinking that our dollar's not going to work and theirs is. And then I see this with youngsters, and it scares me to death with my kids, is the cash apps, the Venmo apps and things like that. That's coming right out. There's no recourse. You send $1,000 to someone that you think is that person, it's gone. So that's tough. And again, what I take away from just knowing what I know and what I've seen happen to friends and clients is they don't prey on who you are. They prey on how you are. That's what they do. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You want to send a substantial check to one of your children? What's the safest way of sending it?
Say the first part again, I'm
If
sorry.
you want to send a check to one of your children, substantial check, what's the safest way to do that?
Oof. Wiring is the safest. Putting it in the mail, you're vulnerable, whether it's an official check, a bank check, or your personal check. They can it's amazing what they can do. And we have a process at our bank, and it's a little irritating to our clients, but if there's a check out of sequence, or there's a little curve doesn't look right, we're calling you and saying, did you write this check to your child for this amount? We spend all day doing that, don't we, Kim? Yeah. Wiring is the safest, and it's the fastest. Yes, ma'am.
How about making a payment by check in the mail? It's like a payment for $45. Can anybody get their hands on that check? Change it and take.
Are you writing a check?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to pay somebody or something by check in the mail.
Now, I'm not saying, so you're putting it in a mailbox, putting a flag up?
You know, taking it to the post office or bringing it here to put in the mail. I guess once.
Regular payment amounts
Yeah.
are, I mean, if you're seeing that happen consistently, you have the timing of the check, you know when it posts, you should be looking at your accounts, rectifying your accounts.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's recourse if that, let's say someone did get your check that you wrote to the power company, and you didn't see it when you were rectifying your checkbook. You call your bank, they're gonna make sure that that's right. But we are seeing more and more check washing, and they're very smart. They don't do it for big amounts, they test it. Like the first one will be for $400. And each bank has limits that they can do without calling the client. What's ours, 300? 300. Anything, if you write a check to anyone over $300, someone from our bank calls you and says, ma'am, did you write this check to this person? They're standing in front of us, or, yeah. So, but you look worried. I don't want you to.
Well, what you're saying makes me think it's not a good idea to pay anything by check anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's what I'm saying.
That's what we do.
Well, when I say that, it's mailing it. It's mailing it. Giving it to the person you know is completely good, but they've just gotten, I don't know if you've seen it. I mean, in Charleston and Mount Pleasant, the bad guys have the keys to the boxes that you put all your mail in. So if they get there before the courier does, all that mail that's in that box is in their hands, and a lot of times they don't use it. They get paid for taking it to someone else that's really good at doing, checking that out. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Bill pay, online banking and bill pay, if you do electronic banking, that's safe. Has anybody had any issues with check washing or see, I don't know what I'm talking about if nobody's had it. I've had it. Yes, ma'am.
I think I have.
You have?
A couple of years ago, on the Friday afternoon before Easter holidays, at 5 minutes after 5, somebody in Savannah, Georgia, bought something at Walmart and wrote a check and signed my name. I had not missed any checks, and my bank said that I had never been issued a check that had that number on it.
So they were able to get your account number and routing number and make a check?
Nobody knows how. The police could not follow it, and it was a check to Walmart, and even our Walmart here tried to follow it, but they didn't. Walmart paid me back.
Sure.
But that it was really, I'd never been in Savannah,
Sure.
Georgia.
Yeah, there's certain areas where that it's easier for them to do things
But I
like
thought
that.
the timing of that was remarkable.
you
5
make a-
minutes after 5 on the Friday
Absolutely.
before a long holiday.
Yes, ma'am, that's exactly right. Yep, that it might slip by.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Never had any more trouble from it, but the police said that undoubtedly it was a check cash washing situation.
Or or making a check. They're so
making a
good at
check.
it. Even with the double and triple layers of security on some of the checks, the bad guys are able to get their hands on that, so.
When I was, when my bank was hacked, when my account was hacked, I have a picture of the check that he used.
Uh-huh,
There's absolutely no
none.
resemblance to mine.
Yeah,
The check number was nowhere close to what it should have been.
well, and I've seen examples where the bad actors are in the banks too. I mean, they let it get by, so.
What's more safe, mailing a check or a fear of having somebody hack your account? Once they get in, you gotta do it some way, so which,
They do. So an example like yours, I don't know if this happened, but if your bank information was sitting on your banker's desk, just happened to be sitting there, or was on a report or something like that, and somebody could get, there's many ways they can get your information without actually you writing a check. Judge, I think we're getting better and better at catching the bad guys related to getting, as far as getting into your account, your PIN number, or however you use that, I wouldn't keep that to where if you were to lose your wallet or something like that and all that information's there. And it helps to know your banker, and it helps to know your clients and their activity. I mean, they do a lot of investigations when things like that happen. So that's a tough one to answer. Kim, you want to answer it? Yeah.
There's a little bit of risk with both.
One of the things that I do, because my wife loves shopping on Amazon, and we don't have any credit card. We have credit cards for traveling, but we don't use them in day-to-day life. We have one account that we use that doesn't have a card or a check on it, and then when we need money, we move it to an account, and we move the amount we want with that debit card. So, there's less risk using the debit card. And I bet you if I pulled up my phone right now, I've got Amazon fraudulent texts right now that they want me to click on that or call that number. That's the other thing, is if you do get an email or a text from your bank wanting you to click on or call that number, don't call that number, do not click on that. Use the number on the back of your card, your debit card, or a number that you have. You might know the number of your branch. Call your branch, because once you do that, they can get your information. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that you all are getting better and better at things to help, stop the awful stuff going on.
Yes, ma'am.
But I will also say they are getting better.
They
and
are.
better.
They
And
are.
That's up in your game.
There's no question about it.
And I don't use a debit card at all. I have one credit card that I pay off every month, but if I go to the grocery store or the doctor's office, I write a check. And it's funny now because they're not sure sometimes what a check is.
I know. Yeah.
I'm old school. I write checks.
That's right. That's the other thing. about the doctor's office. I didn't show myself, but I had an argument with one of the PAs, is, so much in the doctor's office, they're requesting your social security number on those forms. You're not obligated to give them there. You can give them the last 4 if you want, the last 2, but you are not obligated, because those papers sit out a lot of times until they're filed. And we've seen a lot of information taken from those kind of situations. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say, I have some friends in Europe, and when I tell them that I use a check, they're amazed. They say that nobody in Europe has used checks, paper checks, for 20 years.
Yeah, it's getting less and less. Judge, so tell me a little bit more about your question, because it's eating at me.
was just asking,
What's safer?
Yeah, which is safer, electronic banking or check?
Electronic, I would say. I'd say there's more layers of security in electronic, for sure. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm just going to add something on. They've had more time to get good at faking checks. With the electronic stuff, it's kind of newer, so it's taking them a little bit longer to learn the ins and outs. But they're probably going to get there soon with the text and all the links that you can click. So
Yes.
please listen to Mr. Jimmy. Do not click the links.
Well, like you said, the AI now, they're getting smarter and smarter. We're trying to keep up with them, but hey, it's staggering. In 2022, $3 billion has been scammed off of adults, elderly adults, so that's a lot. Well, listen, thank you all so much for putting up with me. This is a wonderful group. Thank you for taking the time. If I can answer any questions one-on-one, I'd be glad to. And Kim has got, Kim, take a quick picture from the back before you go. Here's one product that we have that is a leader in Charleston. If you're paying attention to rates, this is 11th month CD that we're offering 4.25% on. And it's called a Rising Tide CD. And what that means is if the rate goes up, you can move it. You can move it if it goes up. It doesn't go down, but it can go up. Minimum deposits required here. And one of the things that we could do, I mean, if you needed us to come out here, or you needed to go into Laurinburg, however it would work for you, we could help you out with this. And again, you don't need to be clients to ask questions. One of the earlier slides, it could be a banker, could be a lawyer, it could be anyone that that's befriending you. If you have any questions or anything we can do, please let us know. And again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
I don't ever trust anybody on the phone that, I was